Hey, this is a very good Dr. Glenn Livingston, and I'm here with the great and inimitable Yoav Esser, my partner in a book publishing company. How are you, Yoav?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Glenn.
I know you are. I know you are. You're helping me to do great also in many ways. Yoav has pioneered several ways and an overall system to not just market a book on Amazon, but to use it to support a consulting or coaching business, or actually to build a list and let you market what you want to. And that's what we're here to talk about today. I wrote a book. This was something that I always kind of wanted to write. Most people know that I've had a little food problem over the years. I kind of like to eat, and I've had trouble in the past with wanting to dislodge my jaw and empty the delicatessen into it. And I wrote a book once I figured out a solution, and Yoav has helped me to figure out how to build the foundation for a business in a way that I really wouldn't have thought of myself. And so we wanted to go through that today. Yoav, by the way, you can jump in at any time if you want to say something, but since publishing just a couple of months ago, I had a couple of people ask me to do some interviews and some podcasts, very small podcasts. I purchased a couple of book promotion services. I don't think I spent more than $100 on that. I couldn't have spent more than 10% of my overall time on this project as a whole, and the results are very intriguing, and you need to bear in mind they're still very early with very little effort and very little promotional dollars or time. But we've got 3,000 downloads. We've got 29 reviews as of this date, with about 76% of them being 5-star. We've got 280 subscribers to our list, which is just edging up on 10% conversion from the downloads. We're also selling physical copies. We're getting downloaded copies, and we've got a little continuity business building. I opened up a weight loss coaching group online, and we've got 17 people out of those 280 people who are buying the continuity program. And this all came from 2 interviews and Amazon traffic and just a couple of people that meandered over from my existing lists. Yoav, I think that if we were just to keep up without really putting any more marketing muscle behind this, I would imagine that given the follow-up sequence, we'll probably double the conversion to the continuity. So we could get up towards 10 or 12% with that, probably get to about 12,000 downloads by the end of the year, have over 1,000 subscribers, and have 128 continuity customers. But if we do pick up the promotional efforts and we project it out, we could probably multiply that times 5, which means I'd actually have a nice little business. I'd have a nice little weight loss continuity business with an income that I could live on if I needed to. So, Yoav, is there anything else you'd like to say about what's happened so far, or should we get into how to happen?
We can go directly into how to make it happen, and I think that 5 times what you're doing now is a modest estimate. We can probably do a lot better if we put our combined effort behind it. And yeah, could be a 6-figure business easily by the end of the year.
You know, I haven't made an organized effort to go do podcast interviews. I haven't made an organized effort to buy traffic. I haven't put together a back end for the continuity program. I've really just been going along. This is a labor of love, but I'm very busy with my coach training organization and business coaching organization. So I really haven't been putting a lot into this. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens when we do. Anyway, so should I let you take it from here?
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that we really did very little to promote this other than put it on Amazon and do the stuff I'm going to describe in a minute. So yeah, I'm hoping a big business, another big business for you. That would be nice.
I did tell my list about it, but you have to remember my list is a marketing list, not a weight loss list. So I didn't really get that much from that.
Cool. So shall we dig in?
We should.
The entire process I'm going to describe is designed to help you as a coaching business owner or as a consultant to get to write a book or to take an existing book and to use it to create a thriving, working business that can really support you and your family, or to take an existing business that already produces an income and to really put it in hyperdrive with that book. We're going to discuss 4 things. The key to the entire process, which is how to turn your book readers into email subscribers, how to drive traffic to a book, and that's different from driving traffic to a landing page or an opt-in page. You'll see there's a lot of different things you can do to get traffic onto your book. How to get people to actually download and read the book so they convert. And we're going to discuss a different model than what we used in your case, Glenn. In your case, you give away the book for free. And that's a good idea when you want to maximize the amount of downloads and maximize the amount of people getting the book and reading it, because free books get downloaded 10 times more than books that cost money. But there's another way to approach this, which can actually work a lot faster with a book that costs money, and we'll discuss that at the end of the presentation.
Right, so this is something we did for lead gen. I should also mention that I'm making about $100 a month selling the physical copy of the book. As the book rises in the rank on Amazon, there are people who don't want the Kindle version, they want the physical copy, and that's something I'm listed at $9.95, and so I'm making 1 or 2 sales a day of that.
So you're making $100 in profit. You're probably selling more in volume.
Well, that's true, because that deducts all the Kindle fees and all the Amazon fees. I just put a little note in the follow-up sequence that said, hey, would you like to have a physical copy to read by the bedside or something like that? And a couple of people buy from that. So it's kind of a hybrid model, and I imagine that income will grow also as the rank rises in Amazon and as we drive more traffic to it. So it's pretty cool.
Cool. Okay, let's dive right in. Before I describe the mechanism that converts book readers into email subscribers, I want to address a very important point, and that's that readers, or more specifically book readers, make excellent prospects. And that's because they downloaded a book or they bought a book, they read the entire thing, more than 200 pages. So they're exposed to your message in length, and they now perceive you, the author, as a real expert. So you've written a book, they read it, you're now in a position of authority, and they valued your knowledge and ideas so much, they decided to join your mailing list. That is why these prospects convert at such a high rate to sales. With Glenn, we're getting a 6% conversion rate to a continuity program.
So, Yoav, if I could just expand on that, I think that it's tempting to conclude that if you can only capture 10 or 12% of the people who download the book into your list, that maybe that's not worthwhile. You'd be better driving them directly to an opt-in page and paying for the traffic and building a larger list. But ultimately, it comes down to the cost per sale and how engaged the people in the list is. And what you're doing here is you're building a list of people who are first readers, and readers are better customers. If they're engaging their intellect and they really are consuming information, and they're easier to convince with information, in my experience, to buy and keep your products and actually consume them and move on to the next level. So that's one thing, is you've got a more engaged audience, and the second thing is the open and click-through rates are much higher on that list. So when it comes down to your cost per sale or effort per sale, it's well worth the time in my experience so far.
Okay, so how do you get readers to sign up to your mailing list? The core concept is a content upgrade. And a content upgrade is simply something that helps the reader make better use or actually implement the ideas and the methods you teach in your book in their lives. So it could be a checklist or a template or a how-to video series. And the idea is that the readers need to sign up to your mailing list to get the content upgrade. There's a specific way to implement it in a book, and later on, if some of you would like to learn more, I'll explain where you can find more information on that. But the bottom line is that almost 10% of the downloads convert into subscribers, and I want to remind you that those are downloads. So not all of the people that downloaded the book actually read it. So we're probably getting a much higher percent of conversion from readers to subscribers. And as we mentioned before, they're very responsive and convert into customers at a much higher rate. Okay, so the next couple of slides, I'm going to discuss how to drive traffic to your book, and there's a bunch of ways you can use. I'm going to discuss just the 4 best and most basic forms of driving traffic. And really the first and most valuable source of traffic for books is the Amazon system or the Amazon store. Now, a lot of authors, they just write their book and publish it on Amazon and forget about it. But they're missing out on a ton of very valuable traffic. Just to give you a couple of numbers, the Amazon store is visited every day by over 100 million customers.
100 million?
100 million potential customers every day.
100 million?
100 million.
I didn't know it was that big.
There are over 1 million book purchases a day on Amazon.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So obviously not all the traffic is going to funnel into your book, but if you just get a small smidgen of it, then you're getting very valuable reader traffic onto your book page. And we did a lot of work to optimize Glenn's book. And the two things you need to pay attention to are categories and keywords. Now, I mentioned the term Goldilocks categories, and that's because many authors go for the most valuable, high traffic categories, and often that's a mistake. Because if you go to the very high level categories, let's say in your case, Glenn, weight loss or the diet category on Amazon, that's a very competitive category. And most times you won't be able to rank in the top 20 books on that category, which means you won't be seen by the visitors and you won't get any traffic. So you really want to invest time finding just the right categories, the ones you can rank for in the top 20. And when you do that, you can drive quite a lot of traffic to your book on a daily basis.
Excellent.
Now, the other part, and this part is even more important because 60% of purchases on Amazon begin with a search, not with a browsing pattern. So the other part is selecting the right keywords. And you can actually select up to 7 keywords on Amazon that your book appears for, and you don't have to pay for them. It's not a paid service. So if you select the right Goldilocks keywords, the one with a combination of high volume or medium volume of traffic and not a lot of competition, you can get a lot of keyword traffic on Amazon, which is actually better than category traffic because people that search for something, they already have search intent. And if you follow Glenn's work, you know that search intent is very valuable when it comes to purchases. So selecting the right Goldilocks keywords is important. It's a very underutilized technique by authors, so there is a lot of opportunity there. For Glenn's book, Never Binge Again, we could have gone with keywords like diet and weight loss. But again, those keywords are very competitive. There are tens of thousands of different titles that compete for that keyword, some by very famous diet gurus and experts. So ranking in the first page of search results for diet and weight loss is difficult. But we went with less competitive keywords like binge eating and overeating. And right now, Glenn is ranking on the very first page for those keywords. And that drives a steady stream of traffic onto the book, and which converts to readers, which converts to email subscribers, and then to purchases. And what we did was also add 2 other types of keywords. We added category trigger keywords. Category trigger keywords are keywords that if you add them, they automatically cause the book to be included in specific categories. So you have to know which keywords those are, and you have to do a bit of research for that. But you can actually rank for more than 2 categories, which is the standard on Amazon. You can even rank for 7 categories if you just choose the right category trigger keywords. And we added modifier keywords. For instance, we added help and solution to our keyword selection for Never Binge Again, which means that now Glenn's book, Never Binge Again, shows for a lot of long tail searches like binge eating help or overeating help, and that gives it a lot more traffic than just the core keywords. We did a lot of work, and by a lot of work I mean like 4 or 5 hours of researching and finding the different types of keywords. But after that, Amazon rewarded us by sending quite a bit of search traffic to the book page.
Very good.
That was the most important source of traffic. Now let's discuss 3 more sources of traffic that are specific to books. The first one is book promotion sites. There are a bunch of book promotion sites. They only promote books. They don't promote landing pages or opt-in pages. They will send thousands of readers to your book page. And some of them, the top 3, are very big. And the biggest one, called BookBub, which is an unusual name, a strange name, but it's a huge source of traffic, and it can drive hundreds of thousands of visitors to your book page. There's a tremendous amount of competition in getting into BookBub and getting accepted for their promotion, but less so in nonfiction books. So it's easier, especially if you do what we show you in the rest of the presentation, to get into BookBub if you have a nonfiction book like Glenn's book. And they can drive hundreds of thousands of readers to your book and really create a business overnight for you. And we intend to do that soon.
I'm paying attention.
Second source of traffic is podcasts. Podcasts are easy to do. So you've already written the book. You have a lot to say on the subject of your book. You just get on the phone and do a 30-minute, 45-minute interview, and then the podcaster publishes the podcast, and you get very high-quality traffic because people listening to the podcaster's podcast already heard you speak. They understand your point. They were convinced. Then they went and bought or downloaded your book, and they're very pre-sold customers. So it's a great source of traffic. An interesting point is that it's much easier to become a guest on a podcast if you're a published author. That gives you an air of authority, and podcasters will take you in as a guest a lot easier than just if you're a coach or a consultant. So that's a good thing. The third source of traffic I'd like to discuss today is guest posting on blogs. I love this source of traffic because it sends you both quality visitors and it's an evergreen source of traffic because the search engines index the guest post and continuously drive traffic to it. But it's a bit tougher than doing podcasts or just paying for a book promotion because you actually have to write the guest post. So you need to make your own decisions, but you can actually build a very solid lead generation system. If you write a book, optimize it on Amazon, and write a handful of guest posts, so there's steady traffic going onto your book from all those different guest posts, that can build you a very solid lead generation system for your business.
Authors tend to not have much trouble with writing, so developing a bunch of posts that can even just be reworded main points from inside of your book. That's more viable for authors, I think, than for some other marketers who are trying to develop a content generation system. So,
of course. So these are the sources of traffic, and you can do very well with just those four. So you drove visitors to your book page, and now I'd like to show you how to get those visitors to download your book. So the first thing you need to understand is that the Amazon book page is actually a sales letter. And the purpose of this page is either to sell your book or get the reader to download it in case it's a free book. But you should treat the entire process of setting up the Amazon book page as if you're writing a sales letter. And it's got copy elements, the title and subtitle. It's equivalent to your headline on your sales page or the opt-in page. The cover, the description, all of those are copy elements. We'll touch on those in a second. And you've got proof, which is essential to get people to buy or perform an action like download. And again, the cover, and I'll explain in a second why the cover appears both in the proof elements and in the sales copy. And you've got reviews. Now, on Amazon, reviews make up the proof, and it's actually crucial that you get it right, and we'll touch on that in a second as well. Okay, so getting readers to download and read your book. We'll start with the book title and the subtitle. Now, a lot of authors get confused, and even though they're business people and online marketers in real life, when they go and write a book, they think they have to pick a smart name, like something that will carry on their legacy throughout time. And they pick silly names like Life is Short or 1, 2, 3 Magic. And Glenn, can you guess what those books are about?
I can't because there's no benefit inherent in them.
Right. That's what happens when you try to be smart. And those two titles are actually titles of parenting books, but you can tell that by the title. So don't try to pick a smart book name.
The original name for my book was Screw the Pig. And because it's about there being an alter ego inside of you and learning the nuances of managing to dominate that alter ego, to dominate your thought thinking self. In my own journaling and my own work to overcome my own food problem, I call that alter ego the pig. And so despite all of my background as a marketer and everything I know, I was going to call the book Screw the Pig. And Yoav said, "What are you doing?" So, Yoav saved me from myself.
Yeah, we had a bit of fun with that.
Yeah, we did.
Pick a direct response kind of title. And the second key to picking a good title is to find a title that shows what's unique about your book. Because you have to remember, in Amazon, you're in a very competitive environment. If you look at a search results page or a category page on Amazon, all the books revolve around the same subject. So if it's binge eating or eating disorders, all the books there talk about binge eating and eating disorders. And you want to find a name that highlights the uniqueness, the unique hook you have in your book. I developed a system with 8 different ways to find the unique hook, and I'll show you how to get the system at the end. But right now I want to show you one example, and that's to use a research kind of hook. And if you look at the example here, you can see this book talks about storytelling, but it's 23 storytelling techniques from the best TED Talks. So everybody knows that TED Talks are the best kind of presentations you can make. They're highly refined presentations. They've got riveting stories. And if you extract the storytelling techniques out of those presentations, you end up with a very high level product. So this is one example of how you can create a book that is very unique and stands out in the marketplace.
Cool.
Moving on. The second element that helps you get readers to download or buy and then read your book is the cover. Now, with nonfiction books, you've already done a lot of the work when you decided on a good title that explains the main benefit and shows what's unique about your book. So don't hide it, make it very clear in your title, and use a professional looking cover. Now, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece like Glenn's cover is. Think Never Binge Again is a great cover. It's a work of art. But it doesn't actually have to be this great. It just has to look professional. And you can actually find people on Fiverr that would design a professional looking cover for you for very little money. That's the second part.
Well, and the cover is the first point of contact for an Amazon searcher. It's kind of like the ad for the ad. It's almost like your headline. It's how they decide whether they want to read more about the description.
Right, and if you design it yourself with PowerPoint and the fonts don't match and it looks shabby and not professional, even if you selected a great title and the content is amazing, people will just pass over it and go to the next book with a professional cover.
Yeah. And we actually developed a research method to test a number of different designs and covers, and I think you'll tell them a little bit more about that later. So,
sure. The third element of getting people to download and read your book is to write a kick-ass description. Now, we developed a formula that can help you write a kick-ass description. That's the text part, the copy part of your Amazon book page. And it's got 4 elements. Remember, the reader already understands the big benefit from your title and subtitle, but now you need to zoom in, and the first thing you need to do is make sure they understand that the book is for them. So with your description, you want to call out your specific audience. And then you want to reiterate and explain more about the unique idea. So they got a hint of it in the title, but you want to really expand on what's unique about your book in the book description. Then you want to move on and dimensionalize the problem. And this is where you push the trigger points and you remind them why they started searching in the first place and why standing in front of the refrigerator at 2 a.m. and dislodging your jaw and just piling on food into it is something they really want solved, and hiding all this eating behavior from their family. So you go and dimensionalize the problem, you paint a picture of the problem for them, and then you move on to a list of benefits of reading the book, and that makes for a very strong description for your book.
People could just take a look at the results of the description we put together at Never Binge Again. You can go to neverbingeagain.com, or you can go to Amazon and look for Never Binge Again, and you'll see that.
Right. And then we get on to reviews. This is the really problematic part on Amazon, because if you do a bit of research, and we did that, you'll discover that only 1 out of 2,000 readers actually bothers writing a review. All the title and the greatest title and the greatest cover and the kick-ass description are not worth anything if you don't have proof that what you're saying there is correct, and that people can safely get your book, spend the time on reading it, and apply your methods. And the reviews is what actually gets them to believe that on Amazon. But it's really tough to get reviews when only 1 in 2,000 readers writes a review. And this is part of the system we developed. What you do is you use the content upgrade to get readers to subscribe to your email list, and then you ask those subscribers to write a review.
Okay, my book is kind of a tough love approach to eating disorders and eating problems, and because I emphasize the pig inside of us, there are a lot of people, particularly very nurturing feminine women, who say, I don't have a pig inside me, and you're just telling me to abuse myself, and, screw you. And so periodically someone will read the book and give me a horrible 1-star review, and they'll say the book should be called Never Buy Again, not Never Binge Again. If I were to let that stand, it would bury me in a dark corner of Amazon. And so what we came up with was just telling people the truth in a follow-up email. Say, hey, if Never Binge Again has helped you, and you'd like to see me spread the word to other people, then I really need your help, because a few people who react to the tough love approach of Never Binge Again could ruin it for everybody else by leaving these 1-star reviews. So why don't you join the mission and hop on over to Amazon, and let's combat this by leaving a good review and explaining what you like about it and why those other reviews are wrong. And that worked. And if you actually read some of the 5-star reviews, you'll see that they'll actually say that they read the 1-star reviews and strongly disagree with them. I didn't ask them to do this, but I think they're actually marking the 1-star reviews as unhelpful, and as a result, they're getting pushed down. Once I put that email in the system, I jumped from like 11 reviews to 29 in maybe 1 month's time. And I didn't realize, that's a good way to put it, proportionally, if I've got only 3,000 downloads, I should have 1.5 reviews. 1.5, maybe 2 reviews, but I have almost 30 reviews. I've got 15 times more than we should have, so that's a very effective system.
And if you watch your competitors, if you go and look at the top 2 competitors, both of them had been released years before you did. One was released a year before Never Binge Again was, and the other one was released on 2013. It's like 3 years before, and you almost have the exact number of reviews as they do.
Oh, wow.
So pretty quickly, you're going to reach hundreds of reviews, and that alone will set you apart from the other books on the subject.
Does that impact the Amazon ranking?
Not the category ranking, and you don't know what really impacts the search ranking, and the algorithm changes all the time. So I would say don't count on it, but it certainly impacts the number of people that download the book. It's a very high contributor to the conversion rate.
It's the best element of proof you can get on Amazon.
Just imagine you have 5 search results, 10 search results. You've got 50 reviews, 30 reviews, 480 reviews. Which one would you download?
Right, exactly.
So if you implement this system, and you can implement a version of what Glenn did for almost anything, any kind of book. So if you implement this system, you'll get a lot more reviews, and that will help you drive even more readers into your funnel.
Very good.
That is the making of a perpetual lead machine. If you get your book optimized for Amazon traffic by selecting the right keywords and categories, if you set it up so it has a high conversion rate with the right title, a good professional cover, a kick-ass description, and the review system we just described, and it needs to be said, you have to write a good book. If the book is bad, you won't convert anyone. And if you implement the content upgrade, then you can drive an endless amount of leads into your coaching and consulting business.
It's really cool. It's fun too. The whole thing is fun. It's like a game.
So that's one way of doing it with a free book.
Here, can I ask you one question about the reviews?
Sure.
Is it valuable for me to respond to the reviews in the comments? You can actually respond right on Amazon. Is it worthwhile for people to see that the author is responding, or do they feel intruded upon, like they're supposed to have this private place where they can talk about reviews?
I think that if you take the time to respond to individual comments, you'll get those specific reviewers to convert better in your sales funnel. I don't know how that will affect overall conversion rate, but those specific people will see that you're a real person and that you actually respond to what they say in a positive manner. They're a lot more likely to become customers. So it's very little effort and can drive new customers into your business.
Cool.
This is one way of going about it, which is setting up your book, optimizing it, and over time driving traffic. But a book gives you another opportunity to drive traffic, and that is through a book launch. And I want to briefly discuss this here. If you don't go for the free book model and you only get paying customers, besides the fact that it's a bit more difficult to get people to buy your book than download it for free, you actually get customers that convert better than free readers because they're already paying customers. They've proven their ability and willingness to pay. People that actually buy your book convert a lot better than free downloads.
Even if it's just $1, right? Or 99 cents?
Even if it's just $1 or 99 cents, it does two things. First, it qualifies them as paying customers, and we know for a fact that paying customers pay. And the second thing is that it almost guarantees they actually read the book. So if it's just a free download, they can download the book and never read it. But if they pay, there's a much, much higher chance they'll read the book and then convert into an email subscriber and so on. Paid books, not free books, are actually a good source of customers. And by going the paid route instead of the free route, you can actually take advantage of the bestseller lists. Now, we didn't go this way with Never Binge Again, because, Glenn, you wanted to make sure that the methodology resonated.
I was scared everybody was going to hate it. It's funny. Never Binge Again was not a book that I content researched the way I would normally research a project. It was something that I solved the problem myself. When you were developing the book marketing company, we needed something that you could work on. And I said, well, I had written this book. I kind of had written it for myself, and I thought maybe someday I'd share it, but I really hadn't researched the market. And he said, no, come on, let's just do it. So I did, but I was really scared that people were going to hate it. So I was wanting to go the free model so that I'd have an easy out if I had to.
And we actually discussed the option of taking you off the market if people really hated it.
Yeah.
But I told you since the very first moment I read the book that it's a great book. And it is.
Thank you, man. Thanks. It saved my life, so go ahead.
We started with a free book. We didn't want to make a lot of noise, so we didn't go for a big launch in the beginning. But what we're going to discuss now can take your book and your methodology and create a book launch around it, which will create an instant business for you. Let's see how that's done. So what happens with the book launch process is that you make a concentrated effort around the publication date. So you can sell as many copies on a very short period of time and hit the bestseller lists. Now, bestseller lists, what they do is they amplify your reach. So let's say you've got an existing audience and you're able to sell 300 copies initially of your book in a very short period of time. But selling those 300 copies will get you ranked on bestseller lists, and then that will expose your book to a whole lot of customers, which will in turn sell an additional 1,000 copies. So you start off with 1,000 new paying customers, and a whole bunch of them convert into subscribers and then continuity customers, and then you've got a business, or like in a very short span of time. That's the case with the small bestseller list. If you actually make it into the bigger bestseller lists, you can sell hundreds of thousands of copies, and that would really drive an enormous amount of traffic into your business, and you'll need a lot of manpower to support that new business coming your way. So if you combine the launch process with the content upgrade and an email follow-up system, you can really quickly build a list of paying, hyper-responsive customers and take your business to a whole new level. So let's shortly discuss the different types of bestseller lists. And there are more bestseller lists than you usually think of. People usually think of the Holy Grail, which is the New York Times bestseller list, and it's very difficult to get on that. But before you get on the New York Times bestseller list, you can get on the Amazon category bestseller list. So if you get on the weight loss bestseller list, you'll sell a lot of weight loss books. If you get on the time management bestseller list, you can sell a whole lot of books on time management and so on and so forth. If you're a management consultant, there's a management bestseller list on Amazon. So really, there's a bestseller list for almost every type of coach and consultant. And if you can get on those with a proper launch, you probably can, then you'll drive a whole lot of traffic into your business. And that's the first step. Now, the second type of smaller bestseller list is what Amazon calls the hot new releases. And you can get on the hot new releases bestseller list in the first 30 days after you publish your book. And we actually did that with Sharon's book.
Did you? I didn't know that.
Yeah, we did on both categories. And it drove relatively small, but we got almost 100 new purchases from those.
Wow. And Sharon's book is called Get Lost Girlfriend, and it's a good example of how you do this all with a fiction book.
And then there's the top 100 list on Amazon. That's across all categories. And if you get into the top 100 list on Amazon, that would drive an enormous amount of sales to your book. Enormous. We're talking hundreds and thousands of copies. So it's really worthwhile getting into it, and it's actually feasible. And then you've got the big list, the newspaper list, the USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and the New York Times. To say one more word about this actually works as a kind of a snowball effect. If you can drive the first 100, 200, 300 purchases, you can get on the Amazon category bestseller list and on the Amazon top 100 list. And then sales from those can get you into the few thousand sales level, and that can get you into the USA Today and Wall Street Journal bestseller list. You really want to drive all those sales right at the beginning, right at the launch date. And if anyone's interested, I can show you a technique on how to do that. And that can snowball into a really, really massive windfall.
Nice. I'm sure everybody's interested.
Again, how to orchestrate a successful book launch. You want to make sure that all the purchases come in during a short period of time, and there's a technical way to do it, and discuss how you can learn about it in a second. And then what you want to do is you want to bribe your audience to purchase the book. A lot of authors think that they just write a good book and then everybody buys it, but the really heavyweights in the industry, like Tim Ferriss and Gary Vaynerchuk and Tony Robbins, they create packages, bonus packages that you get if you buy the book. And those are really valuable bonus packages. And if you buy a book or 10 books, you get 10 times more in value than the actual worth of the book package you bought. So they run a really tight campaign to make sure a lot of their audience buys the book. And you can replicate this, and that's how they get a lot of purchases, and you can do that as well. The last thing I want to discuss is all this worth it? Again, if you have a successful book launch and a good working content upgrade strategy, what you get is a very eager and pre-sold email list of paying customers. With a proper email follow-up, you can create a very valuable business for yourself. We are going to do it with your next book, Glenn. And if anyone else would like to join my little coaching club and learn how to do that, you're more than welcome to visit this link and join.
I will just say that Yoav is very modest in terms of what the club can actually do for you. It's extraordinarily low priced. He's paying specific attention to everyone who comes in at this time when it's relatively small. He's got a success and implementation rate in the club, which is just out of this world compared to any other continuity club that I've seen. Because of all this, I don't know if he'll be able to maintain that once the club gets a lot larger, but I would definitely recommend that you join for a couple of months. And if you're interested in marketing your book and developing a business from it, that I don't know any better training that you could find. And the last thing I'll say is that as of this time, Yoav is planning to sequentially raise the price since the club has now been tested and proven and our systems are in place. So purchasing in the next few days would really behoove you so that you could lock in the low monthly price that's there now indefinitely. So have a look and hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks.
Thank you, Glenn.